Hello. You know, the last webcam, number 16, that I did about a week ago, I received a lot of reports regarding it, and it was totally unexpected. And these reports talked about their transformation, and they were very sincere, realistic. One particular email, for example, that impressed me was about a man who has cancer and transcended any fear regarding it after listening to that webcam. So, one thing that I'd like to state right now is the difference between change and transformation. Many people confuse the two. They think change and transformation are similar. They're vastly different. Change happens spiritually after many years, oftentimes a whole lifetime of reading and study and practice and asking questions and blah blah blah, and then eventually you begin to feel a little better because you decondition the conditioning. Okay, it's a very slow, gradual process, and that's how it happens most of the time. However, there is such a thing as transformation. Transformation doesn't happen in time. It happens when we listen through grace. It's instantaneous. And many of today's satsang teachers have had such, quote, a happening. A transformation is when you hear something for the first time. You may have heard it 100, maybe 1,000 times before, like the word oneness, like the word love, like the word God. But when you actually hear it, like the word now, you actually hear it because you deliberately keep going over and over and over it. Then there is a moment when you actually see it for the first time. And that's the transformation. Something just brings a shift. Wow. You see? So today I'd like to tell you a secret. A secret that I haven't really divulged it to a lot of people, but I will today. But before I do that, there are two misconceptions I'd like to clear up. First of all, I get emails every day from many of you, and I always give you an answer. The answer that I give you has to do with what I believe you are ready to hear, which depends upon the question you've asked. But one thing I'd like to stress, in truth, there are no answers to life's questions. The questions all come up from your human side, and so of course the answers come from the human side also, to placate the mind until it becomes quiet enough to listen. So, in truth, there are no answers to life's questions. There is only a quiet mind. But the quiet mind comes by simply getting it all out of your system until there's nothing left. Number two is I've had a few people writing me, and they said that they're enlightened. With all due respect, that's a sure way that you are not. You see, enlightenment means there is no ego. So who's going to claim enlightenment? But you see, if you feel disillusioned right now, that's a good step. Let me tell you the story about myself, which I call the Great Secret. Many years ago, in the 70s, I experienced Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi. I didn't know who he was, but I had this image that came to me, and it was many months later that I saw his picture in a magazine, in a book, and I began to read. Anyway, a shift came when I realized that this was real. And all I wanted to do was to find out who I was. Now, at that time, I had written a book, and I've also appeared briefly in a TV show. But the important thing is that I was still unsure of who I was. So I kept asking the question that Ramana Maharshi advocated, who am I? Who am I? For many years, I kept inquiring, who am I? Frustration, confusion were always there because I didn't know who I was. Well, one day in the year 2000, many years later, I was asking myself that question, who am I? And all of a sudden I realized the truth for the first time. I don't know. I don't know who I am, but I accepted it. It was liberating. It was utterly freeing because there was no bird. There was only being playing the human role of bird. Now we use words like I am being, or I am love, or I am life. But they can't be defined. They're just words. They don't really have a meaning to the mind. The human can never know their true meaning because it's all oneness. It's a mystery. So the truth is, I still don't know who I am. But in this unknowing, I am free. In this unknowing, I am happy. In this unknowing, I know there is no bird who can suffer. So, dear friend, there is nothing to know. There's only to be. And then when the mind becomes very quiet and very silent, you'll know that you exist. And you only exist now. And now is always fresh, alive, and new, moment to moment. Thank you.